attracting BJP leaders, among others in Haryana. That's going to be another talking point on the news today. All that and much more on the news today. News without the noise.
Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist. Co-presented by Panasonic. Create today, enrich tomorrow. Co-powered by the bold look of Cola. Co-powered by Samsonite. Tested like Samsonite. Indian Oil. Pehle Indian, phir oil.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today, your prime time destination just ahead of Republic Day. Happy Republic Day in advance. But as always, we will bring you the news, the newsmakers, the talking points. Campus face off over the Modi documentary. Has the screening ban exposed authoritarianism in this country, or is the BBC guilty of a colonial mindset? Shashi Tharoor is among my special guests tonight. He joins me in a moment. But first, as always, it's time for the 9 headlines at 9. A report by a European research agency claiming stock manipulation by the Adani group spooks the stock market. Sensex takes a 770-point hit. Adani company refutes the allegations, calls the report malicious and baseless. A screening of a BBC Modi series, docu-series is blocked in Jamia Millia University campus. Protesting students clash with police. 13 detained. This a day after Jawaharlal Nehru University administration shut off electricity to prevent the screening. Former Congress leader and former Union Minister A.K. Antony's son resigns from the party a day after hitting out at the party over a BBC documentary over Prime Minister Modi. Anil Antony was handling the social media wing in Kerala. A former Karnataka minister, Ramesh Jarkioli, faces flack for allegedly pledging 6,000 rupees for every vote towards the BJP. Karnataka Congress files a complaint ruling BJP forced to distance itself. TMC spokesperson Saket Gokhale arrested by the Enforcement Directorate in a money laundering case. Gokhale accused of misappropriating 1.07 crore rupees collected through crowdfunding. The TMC says this is more evidence of vendetta. A Telangana High Court wraps Chief Minister KCR for a no Republic Day parade celebration, directs KCR to follow the centre's rules. Despite protests across the country, Shah Rukh Khan's blockbuster film Pathan takes the box office by storm, becomes the biggest ever opening for a Hindi film. And the BCCI announces 5 teams for the first ever women's IPL. Adani Sportsline buys the Ahmedabad franchise for 1,289 crore rupees. Mumbai Indians, RCB among other team owners. And the Indian duo of Sania Mirza and Rohan Bopanna shine at the Australian Open. The duo storms into the mixed doubles finals.
The fairy tale career of Sania Mirza have the fairy tale.
But our top story tonight, a campus showdown is raging in several parts of the country now over the screening of a BBC documentary on Prime Minister Modi and his alleged role in the 2002 Gujarat violence. Hours after clashes erupted over the film screening last night at JNU, today the students of Jamia Millia Islamia found themselves in the midst of a controversy after planning the screening of the BBC film. The screening was eventually stalled, with the police entering the campus and stopping it from being screened. Other states like Bengal and Kolkata are seeing university campuses now going ahead and screening the film. All of that leaves open the question, should this film be blocked and banned, censored, or should this film be shown to Indian audiences? Take a look at our top story.
The BBC's documentary on Prime Minister Narendra Modi has stoked chaos on campuses across India, from JNU to Jamia and Thiruvananthapuram to Punjab. The face-off over the controversial film has exploded. At the Jamia Millia Islamia in Delhi, where a screening was scheduled for 6 p.m. on Wednesday, a notice was issued by the administration against it. Security was beefed up, gates shut, and students locked inside the premises. A dramatic altercation followed. Left-wing student group SFI claims 4 students were detained by cops.
I keep reiterating this कि कल 26 जनवरी है और हमारे फंडामेंटल राइट्स पे एक मैसिव अटैक है, राइट टू एक्सप्रेशन पे, राइट टू से एनीथिंग, हर चीज़ के ऊपर एक बहुत ही बड़ा हमला है ये। और ये ना खाली पुलिस की तरफ से है, ना खाली दिल्ली पुलिस की तरफ से, बट जामिया एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन की तरफ से भी है, क्योंकि जो हमारे स्टूडेंट सुबह यहाँ से डिटेन हुए वो कैंपस के अंदर सिर्फ अपनी क्लास करने के लिए आए थे और उनको मतलब डिटेन करके बिना किसी बात के ले गए यहाँ से।
The showdown comes after the late-night ruckus at the Jawaharlal Nehru University, where a screening of the documentary was blocked by cutting off power supply.
बड़े स्क्रीन पे प्रोजेक्टर के साथ इस कैंपस में ये डॉक्यूमेंट्री चलेगी।
What followed was chaos and protest by outraged students. Students took their protest to Delhi's Vasant Kunj police station, where at 1:15 a.m. they lodged a complaint. On Wednesday morning, a new twist emerged. The ABVP accused the SFI of bringing outsiders into the campus.
हम ये बाकी मीडिया को बोलना चाहते हैं कि बड़ी बड़ी ईंटें चली है, पत्थरबाजी एबीवीपी के तरफ से हुआ है और प्रशासन और पुलिस द्वारा कोई भी अभी तक रेस्क्यू किसी भी तरीके से इवैक्यूएशन नहीं किया जा रहा है।
अगर यहाँ मीडिया नहीं होती तो मैं पक्का कह सकता हूँ इनकी मॉब लिंचिंग हो गई होती, क्योंकि आप देखिए जिस तरीके की तैयारी है, नीतीश नारायणन एसएफआई कैडर हैं, ये यहाँ देखिए क्या कर रहे हैं, झाड़ियों में लाठी डंडे लेकर के। तो तमाम ये लोग जो हैं, ये जेएनयू के अंदर जामिया के लोग, दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी के लोग, ये लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? ये जो चेहरे हैं इसमें से सिर्फ 2 जेएनयू के हैं।
The firestorm over the Modi took an unlikely turn in Kerala, where Gandhi loyalist A.K. Antony's son Anil quit the party due to internal criticism he faced over a tweet against the BBC film.
I have the highest of regards for Sri Rahul Gandhi. I personally feel he is doing one of the most commendable things by walking from Kanyakumari to Kashmir and trying to unite this country and give a message of love. But at the same time, I feel so sad for him because of the people he has surrounded himself with. Because sadly, the people who are with him, the people who are around him, the people who claim to be his supporters are people who are filled with vicious hatred, who stands for nothing which he is standing for.
What started in JNU is now echoing across campuses. Presidency College in Kolkata is all set to screen the BBC documentary on Friday. With Milan Sharma and Akshay Dongre, Bureau Report, India Today.
Okay, we're going to try and get all sides to this story. My first guest is Shashi Tharoor, Congress MP and remember author on a book which exposed British colonialism. Shashi Tharoor, appreciate your joining us. At the very outset, how do you see, Mr. Tharoor, the Modi government's response in blocking a documentary on YouTube and Twitter using emergency powers under the IT Act? You were standing committee chairperson on information technology.
I think it's most unfortunate. It really is, in many ways, a violation of the spirit of our Constitution that guarantees freedom of expression and freedom of opinion. And I think on the way in which they've done it has only drawn more attention to the issue they were trying to suppress. So they really haven't done themselves any favors in the process. But let me stress that censorship is something we must consistently oppose. And whatever our views on the individual merits of the BBC documentary, I think the fact that the government doesn't want us to see it becomes a powerful incentive to most democratically minded people to see it.
You know, something you have written in your book on this colonial mindset, is being now echoed by the government. They claim that this BBC documentary coming 20 years after the Gujarat riots, holding the Prime Minister directly responsible after the Supreme Court gave him a clean chit, exposes a colonial mindset. Do you agree with this colonial mindset of the BBC theory?
No, I'm not going along with the government's view, but at the same time, I do appreciate the fact that these things have been said by Indians for the last 20 years. And indeed, you are one of them, Rajdeep, who was on the ground when this horror happened. And a lot of the information that appears to be contained in that documentary is information that we have already read in the accounts of Indian journalists. There have even been books on the Gujarat riots, which have been completely far more detailed about all of this. As I understand it, and I have to start off by confessing I haven't seen the documentary. As I understand it, basically a couple of diplomats went from the British High Commission in 2002 to investigate what happened in Gujarat, and they sent a report back to their own government. And that report, which was confidential or classified, has now fallen into the hands of the BBC 20 years later, and that's the story that they have announced. Now, to my mind, that makes sense for the BBC to do to a BBC audience, in England particularly. But I'm not quite sure why it's such big news for us. For us, these are issues that have been raised in our country already. For many people, what happened in Gujarat is a wound that will not heal for a long time. But as far as the legal aspects are concerned, the Supreme Court has essentially laid the matter to rest by coming up with its final judgment on the matter. Now, I wonder whether we are gaining anything by discussing this in such great length. What the BJP's or the government's rather thin-skinned reaction has achieved is to give far more attention to a documentary that in the normal course, a very small fraction of the Indian viewing public would have found the time to see.
So you don't buy, Shashi Tharoor, either the colonial mindset argument or maybe the other argument the government is making, that this is propaganda aimed to malign the Prime Minister's image and that of India in general?
Look, no. I mean, I think that, every country has a legitimate interest in making its own decisions as to what is newsworthy in that country. And so if the BBC deemed that there was going to be sufficient audience interest in the BBC audience to watch this, that's a news judgment. Just as if you decide tomorrow, Rajdeep, that your India Today audience would be interested in a documentary on, let's say, the Leicester riots in England, you're fully justified in doing that. There were riots in Leicester. We sent diplomats to check out what had happened, just as the British did in Gujarat. We have even, the High Commission in London has even issued a statement, the Indian High Commission, about what happened in Leicester. These are not unprecedented actions for governments and diplomats to do. Now, if the Indian media didn't have cameras, or didn't find it worthwhile doing a full story on Leicester, that's the Indian media's news judgment. And if the BBC found the story worth reporting, that's the BBC's news judgment. I don't see this as part of a particularly colonial project. If they did a news story saying that Indians are not competent to govern themselves and they're busy killing each other in riots or something, then we could object to colonial mindset. There seems to be nothing, again, qualifying with the fact that I haven't seen it. From what I've heard by those who have seen it, there seems to be nothing of that sort of nature. In fact, I understand that the BBC acknowledges in their documentary that the Supreme Court has ruled otherwise and has not, or rather has exonerated some of the people whom the documentary appears to.
Let's look at those visuals that we've been playing, Dr. Tharoor, this evening. What do you see? How do you respond to what we are seeing happening in campuses like JNU, like in Jamia, where police has entered? Electricity yesterday in JNU was cut off to prevent the screening of the documentary by the students. In Kerala, youth Congress groups are going ahead and showing the documentary, as are left groups. Are we seeing, in a way, because of the manner in which some universities and the state is reacting, a creeping authoritarianism being normalized? Does that worry you at all? Police entering campus to stop the film?
I'm afraid so. And I think that the JNU authorities have disgraced themselves by doing what they did. And in fact, I'm proud that it was ineffectual because the kids watched it on battery-powered laptops anyway, so that the cutting off of the electricity only prevented those who were hoping to watch it in their rooms, but those who came to the public location on campus simply watched it on their laptops instead, is what I understand. So good for these kids. And certainly in Kerala, the government did no such thing. And both the Youth Congress, and the communist equivalent, the DYFI, did the same thing. They conducted public screenings on large screens, and some people watched them. This is essentially a protest against heavy-handed censorship. It is not necessarily an endorsement of British colonialism, as some people on the BJP side would like to suggest. I think they must appreciate that they have actually attracted more attention to their leaders' misbehavior in 2002 than they would otherwise have had to endure if they had just taken a more mature attitude to this documentary.
But there will be those, Dr. Tharoor, who say the Congress has no moral right to talk about censorship. This was the same BBC that was chased away by Indira Gandhi in the 1970s. This was the party that imposed emergency. And the BJP will in any case say, look, we've been winning every election in Gujarat and in the last few elections nationally, so forget about Gujarat, it's a closed chapter.
So look, first of all, whataboutery is a rather specious form of argument. The fact that one party did something that has been widely discredited does not justify another party, when they're in power, equally doing something that will be widely discredited even while they're doing it, and certainly by future journalists and historians. So I don't think that this kind of whataboutery serves any useful purpose, number one. Number two, speaking for myself, I'm not a Congress spokesman. I was not pretending to speak for the Congress party. I was speaking for myself. And on the very issues that you've just mentioned, my stand at the time and in my subsequent writings was critical of all those events, and therefore I certainly have nothing to apologize for. I have never defended censorship, whether it's conducted by my party or by anybody else. I just don't think it's a good idea. I also think it's productive.
But wearing you don't think it's a good idea, but wearing your diplomat's hat, do you think in a year when India holds G20 presidency, that censorship will hurt India's image, that this attempt to ban the screening will hurt India's image, particularly in world capitals?
Yeah, this has been extremely unfortunate for the image of India internationally, starting with the UK, obviously, but also because others will report what has happened in their media, also across the democratic world. The fact may be that government agencies value the professional governmental relationship with India to an extent that they would perhaps try and dismiss this controversy. But I'm afraid public opinion in these countries will see the Indian government as having censored a documentary, and therefore will assume there was culpability, as suggested in the documentary, will pay more heed to the negative analysis of the Indian government's stand and position. And in all, it will basically be a net negative for the government of India. I had suggested in an earlier interview to someone else that the best reaction would actually have been to dismiss it, saying that everyone's entitled to their views, but as far as we're concerned, we're not paying attention to this documentary very much. Next question, or words to that effect, because that would have at least, by being dismissive, taken the government out of the firing line. By reacting in the manner they did, very thin-skinned way, by then going so far as to have it removed, having links removed from Twitter and other social media, by having specific tweets by Indians who had retweeted these links deleted, and then actually banning the film and censoring attempts to screen it, they have actually cast doubt on their commitment to the values of our Constitution and to their own claims that they are the quote-unquote mother of democracy. This is a phrase that Mr. Modi has used internationally. The mother of democracy does not stifle one of her own children, namely freedom of speech. So I think this was an own goal in many ways that the government has inflicted upon itself. And as an Indian, I do regret that they have done this. As somebody on the opposite side of the political fence, I might want to relish the discomfiture that they are facing internationally. But as an Indian, I do wish they hadn't put themselves in such a position, because I'd like to see I'd like to see India respected. Let me add one more thought, Rajdeep, which is that I thought that the reasons given by the government for the banning were particularly unfortunate. To say that this documentary threatens India's sovereignty and that screening it would affect India's national security and public order was a frankly pathetic excuse. Our sovereignty is not so fragile that it can be threatened by a documentary being shown in a foreign country, nor is our national security so weak that it is threatened by a BBC film. I just think using these arguments was unworthy of a mighty country like India, with all its strength, its institutions, its armies, its capacity to stand up for itself. And I hope that the people in the government who have been using these arguments will think hard about what they're conveying about India. They should be saying that we are not bothered about this. We are a sovereign state. No one can threaten our sovereignty, least of all a public sector broadcaster in a foreign country. That would have been a far more mature step than the one.
Shashi Tharoor, for giving us your perspective in such detail and appreciate the manner in which you've spoken out here on this issue without necessarily getting into a polarized argument, but giving us a more wholesome perspective on why censorship of any form is perhaps the wrong way of approaching this. I appreciate your joining us. Now, remember, yesterday we saw the scenes that took place in JNU. The film was to be screened last night there, and the administration decided at the last moment to shut off electricity to prevent the students from watching it. Some of them watched it then on their mobiles, and it ended up in a bit of a conflict between left and right, between the left unions of JNU and between the Akhil Bharatiya Vidyarthi Parishad of the BJP. What does that mean? Should these films be shown on campuses? Should the administration step in and prevent these films from being shown? Can these films at all be prevented in this age of the net? These are some of the questions I want to raise now. Aishi Ghosh is president of JNUSU and Akshit Dhaya is Delhi State Secretary of the ABVP and president of DUSU. I appreciate you joining us first, Akshit, on the show. Why is it that the ABVP took out, the left unions are saying ABVP even threw stones at us. Tell us from your perspective, why did the ABVP oppose the film being screened by the student? The film is not banned in India. Surely the student who wants to see it can. Those who don't, just switch it off.
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank you, Rajdeep ji, and the India Today group for inviting me for this show. And we'll also like to congratulate in advance the citizens of the entire country on 74th Republic Day of our nation. Beginning with the issue that you bring in, Rajdeep ji, the issue that has been taken up by the left targeting ABVP, it's baseless, first thing, because there was no ABVP activist involved in any kind of the issues that has been took up by the our left student organizations activist. Second thing, what is the ABVP stand on this BBC documentary? So we have a very clear stand on this, Rajdeep, that this documentary is affecting the integrity, sovereignty and unity of our country. And I'll tell you how does it affect, because this BBC documentary is not questioning any individual. This BBC documentary is not questioning any political party or any ideology. But this BBC documentary is questioning the Indian judiciary, the Indian police, the commissions that was set, the report that was brought in by the different commissions that were made on this. So questioning all the judicial system, all the police system, all the machinery of the government, the democracy of this country by not any other than some private media agency of a country of which Prime Minister has also condemned that. The Prime Minister of Britain, Rishi Sunak, I would like to quote here, when his fellow MP took up this issue, he said that I didn't support any kind of characterization of any such individual. So it is very clear in our front that when India, when the world is looking after India, India is hosting G20 presidency. As I was listening to Shashi Tharoor's interview, it's very good. And it's our pride, it's our nations that the world is looking out after it.
Did you all throw, I will ask, no, 1 minute. I will ask you direct question.
Yes.
Did you all throw stones when the ABVP,
No.
when
In
the
fact-
SFI students were organizing a screening? Is it true that that attempt was made to throw stones and prevent them from seeing it?
Absolutely not.
So who threw the stones?
Rajdeep, it's baseless. It was a political stunt, a cheap political stunt by left student organization. When nobody came there to watch their screening that they were presenting, it was a fight between the administration and the student activists that were present there. But when they saw that there is nothing controversial going on, so it was a cheap political stunt that came into existence. How come a student, one or two students could go there and attack to 100 students as they were telling? As I was also listening to some of the
let's
left
get it clear.
interviews.
It's
not possible.
Do you have any objections if the students of JNU watch this film? Do you have any objections or not?
As an individual, I do have objection if anyone watches any film that questions the integrity, sovereignty, and unity of our country, that questions the Indian judiciary, that questions the Indian democratic system, that questions the Indian police.
So you don't have to watch it. You don't have to watch it. Why prevent others from watching it? You know, electricity was switched off by the JNU administration. Do you support that or not? Do you believe it was the right thing to do to switch off the electricity?
No, the decision that was taken by the GNU administration, I think they would be the concerned person for that. But my point of view is that the screening that took place of a movie, a documentary that was presented by BBC, that documentary has questioned the Indian judiciary. If someone sitting in JNU will question the Indian judicial system, that too on a day or 2 days before, when we will be celebrating the day when we adopted our constitution. How ironical is that, Rajdeep, that when the entire country is celebrating the constitution, will be celebrating the day when we adopted our constitution, the same students who are aligned, and I would say that they are not student activists. I would like to call them.
How are they not students? No, 1 minute. Are you saying that those who were wanting to watch these films were not students? Those people whom I am showing on the screen, these are not students? That Aishi Ghosh, who is the head of the Students' Union, is not a student?
Yes, they are the private agents. They are working as the private agents of an foreign private media agency. And I would like, though I don't wanted this platform to question anyone personally, but yes, I would like to question Aishi also, that why did she went out from JNU to president and went out to Bengal to contest MLA election, lost, and then again came back? Where was she when the COVID was impacting the students of JNU? Where was she when the screening was done by the ABP Karyakartas? The medical screening was done by the ABP Karyakartas. They were on the ground 365 days, Rajdeep, 24 hours. The ABVP Karyakartas of JNU are trying their best to protect the prestige of JNU. JNU is a very prestigious university, and we will not let any group of students damage the image of JNU. We are there to protect the image of JNU. We are there to protect.
So you believe that the image of JNU, and I'll ask you this one final time, you believe the image of JNU is protected when electricity is cut off, when internet is cut off, where there are brawls between students over the telecast of the film? Do you believe what happened yesterday gives JNU a good image, or does it suggest that there is an authoritarian tendency that either anybody who has an alternative viewpoint, who wants to express their alternative viewpoint, watch a film, cannot be allowed to do so? Do you think censorship is the way forward for India in this Republic Day week?
Exactly, Rajdeep. This is my point. This is a Republic Day week. And at that point of time, we are questioning the sovereignty of the country by putting a documentary which questions the Indian judicial system. I didn't want to quote that 2016 incident, but I would like to quote it.
Okay, we seem to have lost the link there with our ABVP activists. The fact, though, at the end of the day is what happened yesterday, and these are scenes that have played out today in Jamia, yesterday in JNU. There may be alternative opinions on the documentary, but as Shashi Tharoor rightly pointed out, by banning, by censoring, by blacking out, by sending out the messages that you want this film to be stopped on Twitter and YouTube. You've only given more attention to the film. Is our democracy, is our sovereignty so weak that one film will discredit this mighty country? I don't think so. I don't know what you think about it. And maybe there will be those who will think the BJP will actually benefit politically and electorally every time Gujarat 2002 is raked up in whatever form. Think about it. And ahead of Republic Day, not exactly the greatest advertisement for the Indian Republic to see our campuses in those violent fights. Let's turn from there to the other big story of the day. The Adani Group, the group led by the third richest man in the world, lost nearly 50,000 crore rupees in value today after a sell-off in trade was triggered by a report from Hindenburg Research. The activist short-selling group made some serious allegations against the Adani Group based on, as it claims, a 2-year investigation. In its rebuttal, the Adani Group termed the report a malicious combination of selective misinformation and stale news that was uncorroborated and maliciously wrong. Take a look.
अदानी एंटरप्राइज का एफपीओ एक बेहतरीन मौका है ऐसी कंपनी से जुड़ने का जिसने अपने निवेशकों का पूर्व में तो असाधारण रिटर्न दिया ही है और उसका भविष्य और भी उज्जवल है.
Just hours after Gautam Adani issued this video statement urging investment in the 20,000 crore rupee FPO of his flagship Adani Enterprises, came a report by Hindenburg Research, an investment firm with a focus on activist short selling. The company claimed it had based its finding on a 2-year investigation and on conversations with dozens of individuals, including former and senior company executives. The report alleged the group has engaged in brazen stock manipulation and accounting fraud schemes over the course of decades. As per the report, the stock price of the 7 listed Adani companies spiked an average 819% over a period of 3 years. Adding that, the stocks have an 85% downside purely on their fundamentals. Hindenburg also lists several offshore shell companies reportedly used by the Adanis to allegedly generate fake turnover and to siphon off money. The report says the debt taken by the group is unsustainable and that the group is the focus of 4 major government fraud investigations. The Adani Group, meanwhile, has responded strongly to the report, saying it was timed to damage the Adani Enterprises FPO. A statement by the group said that it was shocked at the report as no attempt was made to contact the group or verify the facts, and that the group has always been in compliance with all laws and maintains the highest standards of corporate governance.
The report is a malicious combination of selective misinformation, stale, baseless and discredited allegations that have been tested and rejected by India's highest courts. The timing of the report's publication clearly betrays a brazen, malified intention to undermine Adani Group's reputation with the principal objective of damaging the upcoming follow-on public offering from Adani Enterprise.
Meanwhile, the anchor book for Adani Enterprises FPO has already been oversubscribed. The issue opens for retail investors on Friday and closes on Tuesday. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
So what really is the backstory here? What explains what happened in the markets today, and what is the truth about these allegations that the research agency is making about the Adani Group? Siddharth Zarabi is our managing editor at Business Today. Siddharth, how do you explain what happened today to our viewers? Why has this report been taken in the manner it has that has virtually spooked the markets? What does it really say, and what is the Adani response?
In the simplest manner possible, Rajdeep, the way I would like to describe this is that this report is a bet against Asia's richest man and the world's third richest man. This is a bet by a firm which specializes in taking such bets and shorting stocks and therefore making its money. So that transactional aspect is very, very important. The second aspect of what this really is, and I want to quote Deepak Shinoy, who is one of India's respected capital market experts, and he says this is one long report, some of it is wild, some of it is already known, and some of it requires you to go deeper. I can't comment on the truth of this yet, can't independently verify some of them, but it's going to be controversial. And this is on his thread on Twitter, where he is already picking out several factual errors in this report. And I'm reminded that the same thing had happened last year with another report. Now, without going into that, you asked me about why did the Adani Group stocks, 7 of the listed entities and 2 others also, cement companies, react. Markets are driven by sentiment. They react to information that investors believe impact stocks. But look at another very, very significant aspect. The timing of the report from a market point of view, from a daily trading point of view, I would call is dubious and questionable, because a 20,000 crore additional shares offering, a follow-on offer as it is called in market terminology, is a large fundraising exercise, and there could be an impact on that. However, as we have just pointed out, big institutions have oversubscribed to the 6,000 crore that is available for them by putting in bids worth 9,000 crore. So if you were to look at it from the biggest institutions in the world, sovereign wealth funds, Indian institutions, those who put in very, very large, substantial, multi-100 crore, 1,000 crore bets into the stock markets, they are intending to subscribe to this equity. So juxtapose that collective wisdom versus one short seller's report, and the debate is on. There are some 88 questions, and it is up to the Adani Group to respond to them. We have had one sort of initial response, and I imagine in the days ahead, Rajdeep, they might want to talk more about some of the specifics that have been mentioned in this report.
But how will this, you're saying they will want to speak about the specifics. What does this do, though, for the Adani Group? Because from time to time, there have been questions raised over the manner in which the group finds itself in debt, has used debt to finance a number of its projects. Gautam Adani responded to some of those in an interview that he had done with us earlier this month. But how does this play out? Does this in any way hit the credibility of the Adani Group, or do you believe this is a temporary blip?
Rajdeep, there's another bit in this report which, and I have seen several instances, not just in India and globally, of activist shareholders and their activist reports, and it's fair. That's how markets function. But this same report also puts out another statement which, according to me, is very, very significantly sort of questionable, in the sense that it gives out a specific recommendation. It says there's a 85% downside. Now, you are a short seller. You are predicting the kind of downside that exists, and then actually collating a lot of what has been published and already also dismissed in the court. So I am not holding this brief for both of these entities. I have personally tried to reach out to Hindenburg. I am yet to hear from them. And the company, Adani Group in question, has given out a statement, a video and a text statement. I would say that we need to perhaps look at some of the fundamental questions that have been raised. And like I told you, I started by pointing out a real live example rather than just giving some personal gyan of people who are experts in this subject, who are already, dissecting some of these claims. In terms of debt, that's a valid point. Large over-leveraged firms cause nervousness in the markets. It doesn't relate to one particular group. It's a global phenomenon. In this case, the final point I want to tell you, Rajdeep, if there is 2 lakh crore plus of debt that this group has spread across its massive business, 20,000 crore is being raised in terms of equity. So look at it this way, almost a 10% debt reduction that will happen by the end of this month. So this is an ever-changing situation. all businesses run with debt. It's cash flows that determine your ability to repay, just as individuals like me or you have to pay back their monthly EMIs from their earnings. If you don't earn, you are not able to pay. So those are other questions which, I mean, frankly, I don't think can be answered just like this basis one singular report, Raj.
Well, we'll have to keep a watch, therefore, very carefully as to how the Adani Group plans to respond beyond just the statement that they've made today. And the markets in particular will be closely watching what the Adani Group does and how they respond to some of these charges that have been made. Siddharth Zarabi, for making sense of the issue. Appreciate your joining us. Thank you so much. Let's turn from there to another of our top stories. A new book by former US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has dropped a bit of a bombshell, claiming that Pakistan was planning a nuclear attack after the 2019 Balakot surgical strikes by the Indian Air Force. And India was then planning its own escalatory response. Could we have been on the brink of a nuclear war in 2019? Take a look.
February 26th, 2019. The day when a small pack of Indian Mirage 2000 fighters crossed the LOC at night and dropped bombs that would land outside Pakistan's Balakot town. A tense aerial battle followed the next morning, with Indian pilot wing commander Abhinandan Vartaman famously shooting down a Pakistani F-16 before being shot down himself and captured. But the escalation abruptly ended there. Four years later, disturbing new light has been thrown on what the Balakot bombings triggered. Mike Pompeo, US Secretary of State, during the Balakot airstrike, has pulled the covers of an episode that he says came close to an actual nuclear exchange. Pompeo says he got a call from an unnamed Indian official minutes after the Balakot operation. The top US diplomat, who was in Hanoi on an official visit, says he had to act immediately. He goes on to say that the US State Department then dropped everything to focus on convincing both India and Pakistan that the other was not preparing to go nuclear. Pompeo, a possible future contender of the US presidency, has been a strong proponent of India and advocated for a bigger alliance between Washington and Delhi. Coming from someone who sat at the top of the international table and from someone who has headed the CIA, Pompeo's words also serve to establish the success of the Balakot airstrikes, something Pakistan has unsuccessfully tried to deny thus far. Did India and Pakistan come closer than ever before to a nuclear exchange? Now we know. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's take a break on the news today. When we return, we'll have plenty more, including our good news today's story of the day. It comes from Barech in Uttar Pradesh. You're watching the news today. News without the noise.
This 8-year-old
Hi.
ये तो फुल लाइन मार रही है मुझ पे। क्या बोल रही? Hi.
From wacky one-liners to some light-hearted cheesy dialogues. Looks like Ranbir Kapoor is all set to charm his way into his fans' hearts, courtesy his new rom-com Tu Jhooti Main Makkar, the trailer of which went viral in no time.
Lovable, humble, respectful, romantic, प्यारा
और lovable same होता है।
मैं दोनों हूँ,
With healthy dose of intimacy, the film stays true to its name and also manages to stick to the genre. This Love Ranjan directorial also stars Shraddha Kapoor, making it her first collaboration with the filmmaker as well as Ranbir Kapoor.
एकदम अच्छी ड्राइव है, मजे करेंगे।
गाड़ी खराब हो गई और होटल में सिर्फ एक कमरा हो तो मैं जमीन पे नहीं सोऊंगा।
तू बिस्तर पे सो जाना, मैं जमीन पे सो जाऊंगा।
Ahead of the trailer launch, the star cast including Ranbir Kapoor, Shraddha Kapoor and filmmaker Love Ranjan was seen posing for the cameras. During the same, Ranbir was also seen adding a piece of heart to the puzzle.
किसी मासूम के दिल से खेलने का नतीजा क्या होता है?
Tu Jhooti Main Makkar is all set to roll out in cinemas on March 8th. Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
कदर ही नहीं रह गई दुनिया में प्यार की। मेरा तो दिल कर रहा है कूद के मर जाऊं। इतने फ्रिवलेस हो चुके हैं लोग, छी।
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
That's right. Tomorrow is Republic Day, and remember the Padma Awards have just been announced. The big news just coming in is that Mulayam Singh Yadav, former UP Chief Minister and Samajwadi Party leader, will get the Padma Vibhushan posthumously. Mulayam Singh Yadav passed away a few months ago. He will get the Padma Vibhushan, the second highest civilian award. That's the big story that's breaking at the moment. Also, Kumar Mangalam Birla, Sudha Murthy will get Padma Bhushan Award. Sudha Murthy, author and wife of Narayan Murthy, and Kumar Mangalam Birla, industrialist, will get the Padma Bhushan Award. The other big news, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala will get a Padma Shri posthumously. Remember, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala was the big bull of the Mumbai stock market, redefined the way the stock market operated, and he will get a Padma Shri. Among the others, interesting, Raveena Tandon is to get a Padma Bhushan Award. Raveena Tandon, actor, to get a Padma Bhushan Award. These are some of the details coming in, but Mulayam Singh Yadav is one of the big names also who will be getting a Padma Vibhushan, is the big story at the moment. Let's turn from there to tonight's Get Real India story. From a national hockey player to a daily wage laborer, Paramjeet Singh has seen it all. The former hockey player is struggling to earn a living. His only dream now to see his son make a career in hockey. At a time when the World Cup hockey fever is in Odisha, this is a story as part of our Get Real India series. Take a look.
India's cricket fixation is often much debated. But facts remain, other sports don't give the income security that cricket does. Ask Paramjeet Singh, a hockey player now reeling under the burden of poverty. Paramjeet, who has played at the national level 9 times and was also selected for the Indian hockey team twice, is now a daily wage labourer. He earns his bread and butter by working in a warehouse, picking up sacks of wheat and paddy.
कमाई 300-350-400 रुपया हो जाती कमाई गुजारा तो नाम का गुजारा ही है ये बस खाना खा रहे हैं एक टाइम बस ओनली
Whenever Paramjeet gets time these days, he reaches the hockey field to coach his son.
मैंने देखा आपका बच्चा भी खेल रहा है आपके साथ तो क्या बनाना चाहते हैं?
हाँ जी जो सपना मैंने देखा था मैं वही सपना अपने बच्चे में देखना चाहता हूँ
Paramjeet hopes the government will help him find a job.
सरकारों से क्या मांगे?
सरकारी जॉब
ਸਾਡੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਇਹੀ ਦਰਖਾਸਤ ਆ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਰੋਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਜੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਸਾਡੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਤੋਂ ਇਹੀ ਮੰਗ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਹੋਰ ਚਾਹੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਨੌਕਰੀ ਮਿਲੇ ਚਾਹੇ ਨਾ ਮਿਲੇ ਪਰ ਇਸ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਨੌਕਰੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਮਿਲਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਸ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸਟਰਗਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਜੀ
Paramjeet now has only one dream, that his son makes it to the national team and achieves what he could not. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's turn from there to our good news today story, and it comes from Uttar Pradesh's Bharej, where an 8-year-old specially able Divyan Shukla has won a record in Shirsasana. He continuously stood on his head for, guess what, 44.1 minutes, clearly showing disability can in no way stop him to achieve what he wants. Our good news story.
This 8-year-old differently abled student of a government school in UP has brought glory to his city, Bharej. Whoever says disability can slow you down should look up to this little one. Divyansh, who is more than 40% disabled in his legs, created a record by doing Shirshasana continuously for 44.1 minutes in the G20 Yogasan Record 2023 program.
शर्मा सर और मैं 2 घंटा करता हूँ पढ़ाई भी करता हूँ और प्रैक्टिस करके भी डीएम सर को हराऊंगा
क्या बनना चाहते हो
IAS
His teachers were equally joyous as Divyansh bagged his name in Yogasan Book of World Records.
इन बच्चों को स्वयं से और कोच बुला करके महीने में 2 बार या 3 बार इनको कोचिंग देते हैं और इसी कोचिंग के बल पर बच्चे हमारे म्यूजिकल योगा में भी आगे हैं और सामान्य योगा भी ढंग से करते हैं उसी का परिणाम है कि आज हमारा बच्चा दिव्यांग बच्चा शीर्षासन का रिकॉर्ड बनाया है
Divyansh also won praise from the district magistrate.
प्रधानमंत्री जी ने और मुख्यमंत्री जी ने दिव्यांग बच्चों के कल्याण के लिए विभिन्न कल्याणकारी योजनाएं यहां पर प्रारंभ की हैं उस बच्चे ने खुद अपनी प्रतिभा से यह स्थापित कर दिया है कि वह दिव्यांग नहीं बल्कि अन्य सशक्त बच्चों से भी ज़्यादा सशक्त है
Divyansh's aspirations don't just end here. He wishes to be an IAS officer in future. Bureau Report, India Today.
Wonderful, wonderful story. It's Republic Day, of course, tomorrow. And time for all of us to wear the tricolour with great pride as we must 365 days of the year. But tomorrow is extra special. I want to leave you therefore with images from Jammu and Kashmir's clock tower to the national capital's Red Fort to Mumbai's Mantralay. Several iconic places across the country have been illuminated in the tricolour ahead of Republic Day. We are a remarkable country. We are a country like no other. Let's preserve our unique diversity. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, good night, goodbye, Shubhratri, Happy Gantantra Divas. Bye for now.
As Bharat Jodo Yatra nears the finishing line, Rahul Gandhi shifts focus to Kashmiri Pandits. The Congress MP met a delegation of Kashmiri Pandits just days after the twin terror blasts, rocked Narwal and Rajouri. The Pandit delegation relayed their main concerns. They have not received their salaries from the government for months.
They are just using the Kashmiri Pandits only for the vote politics, nothing else. They have always used us. The name of Kashmiri Pandits, 4 lakh have been, this thing has been happened. Only when election comes, they get activated regarding Kashmiri Pandits.
And targeted killings are on the rise.
एक एम्प्लॉयज का इशू है जो पिछले 6 महीने से धरना पे बैठे हैं, जिसकी सैलरीज बंद है और गवर्नमेंट इज वेरी एडमेंट दैट पहले आप ज्वाइन कीजिए वहाँ पे, आप वहाँ पे मिलिटेंट्स के टारगेट बन जाइए.
In his response, Rahul Gandhi minced no words. The Congress MP trained guns at the BJP at separate public meetings, claiming the ruling party only used the Kashmiri Pandits for vote bank politics.
वो मेरे पास आए और मैं उनकी बात ना उठाऊं तो फिर वो प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी. तो अगर हम यात्रा कर रहे हैं और लोग हमें बातें बता रहे हैं, हमें वो बातें तो उठानी पड़ेंगी.
The Congress has now asked the Kashmiri Pandit community for a 3-point memorandum that will be handed over to the Prime Minister. Meanwhile, BJP on Tuesday targeted the Congress, demanding the Grand Old Party to make its stand clear on Article 370.
धारा 370 अतीत है, समझे? वो संविधान के द्वारा हो गया और हम बहुत विनम्रता से राहुल गांधी आपको चुनौती देते हैं. 370 एक संवैधानिक प्रक्रिया के तहत निरस्त हुआ है, उसके लिए 2/3 बहुमत चाहिए. तो राहुल गांधी जी, क्या आपको लगता है कि कभी 2/3 बहुमत आपको मिलेगा? एक बार खुलकर तो बात करिए. ये एडहॉक कमेंट क्या करते हैं?
While Rahul Gandhi raised the emotional issue of rehabilitation of Kashmiri Pandits, his message got lost in the din over the remarks of the party leader Digvijay Singh doubting 2016 surgical strike. Bureau Report, India Today.
does a retail investor in the Indian markets protect the downside that is likely?
So the only way to protect downside is through asset allocation. You follow your asset allocation strategy, take risk what you can manage, buy when things are cheaper and sell when things are expensive. सिद्धार्थ भाई, ये सब बोलने में बहुत इजी है, करने में जान निकल जाता है. And maybe I'll take a minute to put the lighter side and then leave it to others for serious side. There's this couplet in Mahabharata where Krishna Bhagavan goes to Duryodhan before the beginning of the epic battle and says that, why are you fighting? They are your brothers, give 5 villages. And Duryodhan doesn't agree. Krishna is Bhagavan and yet he can't convince Duryodhan. Duryodhan replies to Krishna after a lot of persuasion, Janami dharmam nachme pravrutti, janami adharmam nachme nivrutti. वो Lord Krishna, please don't tell me what is dharma, what is right. I know everything, but I can't follow it. And don't teach me what is wrong, what is adharma. I know it fully well, but I can't desist from it. So हम सब में एक दुर्योधन आज भी छिपा है. वो कहता है कोला मत पियो, जंक फूड मत खाओ, बट हम लोग उसको फॉलो नहीं करते. Same thing is in finance. Everyone knows the three mantra of regular investment, long-term investment, discipline, asset allocation. But वो दुर्योधन पे काबू कैसे लाए? So जब तक दुर्योधन पे काबू नहीं आएगा, तब तक आपकी वेल्थ जर्नी ऐसे ही रहेगी.
Powered by Samsonite. Tested like Samsonite. Volkswagen Tiguan, India's safest SUV.